I'm meteorologist Charlie Neese. It is February 6th, 2025, and we've got active weather, the East Coast, the West Coast, and we also have some active weather in the form of a chance of severe weather across Kentucky and Tennessee during the day on the 6th. So we're going to start off with the computer models and see over the next week what's going to be happening. This is the Global Forecast System model, many times referred to as the American model, and it's going to be taking us through time. We're going to start on the 6th during the day, and during the afternoon, this is the way it's going to look in the evening around 6 p.m. On Thursday, a redevelopment of thunderstorms across Kentucky and Tennessee. This is where the thunderstorms could be strong to severe. Can't rule out an isolated tornado. I'll cover more on that here in just a moment. The snows and ice that occurred early on Thursday pushing out off the Atlantic coast and turning calmer, but some slick spots remaining across parts of New England into the Northeast with that system. Calm across the plains and very warm. We've got very warm weather. Parts of Texas, also into Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, and the Gulf Coast. Another system moving into California, bringing the heavier rains, especially central and northern California, with heavy snows in the mountains. The Sierra Nevada is going to get a lot of snow from this system, and that will be spreading into the Rockies as we go through the next 24 hours. Let's move into Friday and take a look at what's going to be happening Friday afternoon and Friday evening. Much of the Central Plains still calm, still pretty mild. Texas through the Gulf Coast. Cooler across the Northeast. That's a blustery northwest wind behind the system that came through Thursday morning here. And then here's the system that was in California pushing into the Rockies. Snows for Wyoming, Montana, Idaho, and parts of Utah as well. And some of that could be locally heavy, especially in the higher elevations. As we work into Saturday, overall, not too crazy, although that system that came across California into the Rockies, now moving through the Ohio Valley. You can see snows for the Great Lakes, and some of this could be locally heavy, especially on the northern side of where we're seeing the ice across northern Indiana and northern Ohio here. And to the south of there, warm air. This is pretty warm all the way through the Ohio Valley, at least mild 50s and 60s, 60s and 70s across Tennessee, and even 70s and 80s along the Gulf Coast back into Texas. Calm and starting to turn a little cooler on the back side of that system as the cold air starts to push back into parts of Kansas and northern Oklahoma. You're going to see a big turnaround in your temperatures between Saturday and into Sunday. And then fairly calm with just some mountain snows in the Rockies on Saturday. Sunday, the 9th, this is the big game day, by the way. And in New Orleans, can't rule out an isolated shower, but overall nothing too widespread. It's going to be pretty mild, with temperatures warm compared to much of the rest of the country. And the cold air, you can see there's not really much in the way going on across the entire country on Sunday for really active weather, but that cool air is starting to make its way down to the south, and we're going to start to see a cool off in places like Cincinnati, places like Paducah, Kentucky, St. Louis. The chilly air is pushing back down to the south. Nashville is going to start to see falling temperatures on Sunday, and that's going to push back into northern Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, Oklahoma. You're cooling off, and eventually that really gets going into northern Texas as well. As we work into Monday, it's going to be cooler than it has been. We've across the southeast and the southern plains where it's been so warm. We're still warm along Florida's Gulf Coast down into the peninsula, and also we're seeing some showers and cooler air across parts of Oklahoma and Texas, and where we've seen highs in the 70s across and 60s across parts of Oklahoma. We're back down into the 40s and 50s, and it will continue to get cooler from there. Texas, places like Dallas, noticeably cooler as we go through the day on Monday, but still no super active areas of weather, just some lighter snows to moderate snows across the plains and the cold air, and also maybe a little bit along the Atlantic coast, but nothing too substantial. As we go into Tuesday, though, another significant storm system gets rolling here. We've got locally heavy rains from Tennessee back down into Louisiana. Again, fortunately, this is well after the big game. And a band of heavy snows in those areas along the Ohio River where you were seeing temperatures so warm over the weekend. Now we're seeing temperatures in the 30s and 20s with areas of locally heavy snow and maybe a little bit of ice mixed in there. That extends over into the middle Atlantic as well on Tuesday the 11th. During the overnight, Tuesday night into Wednesday, it goes through the northeastern corridor, locally heavy snow potentially with some ice that could mix in for places like southern Jersey, Philadelphia, even Manhattan getting into some heavy snow during the night, Tuesday night into Wednesday the 12th. Much of the rest of the country behind that, just cooler and relatively calm. And finally on Wednesday, our next storm system in a series getting cranked up. More snow's breaking out across Missouri, St. Louis, Columbia, back into Kansas City with more rains from Dallas, back into Little Rock and northern parts of Louisiana, and that will be pushing eastward as well. So that's a look kind of over the next few days. Storm systems really cranking up and moving over every few days. The big story will be after some really warm weather, we're going to see cooler weather for the week of the 10th. Now, as far as the severe weather threat for the 6th, which is Thursday, going back to that, that's mainly across Tennessee and Kentucky. The high resolution rapid refresh model has some pretty strong storms. This is at 4 o'clock in the afternoon around Nashville, back into West Tennessee, and also up along the Ohio River. These cells to the south over Tennessee expected to be a little stronger than the ones up to the north, but all of these bear watching. Those will continue to push off toward the east during the overnight from the 6th into the 7th, Thursday night into Friday. The biggest threat for severe weather by 9 p.m. will be from Knoxville down into southern Middle Tennessee. And as far as the forecast model calling for the lightning, you can see quite a bit of lightning with these individual cells by 6 p.m. on Thursday, and then more thunderstorms pushing off toward the east as that evening wears on. Now, as far as rainfall goes, let's take a look at the total rainfall as we head into the end of next week. And this is by mid-morning on Friday the 14th. Because we see these series of storm systems, we see the one on the 6th and the 7th, then we see another one earlier in the week, and then another one midweek as we head into the week of the 10th. That dumps a lot of rain. Basically, the Ohio and Tennessee river valleys are the area where we're going to have the clash of the cold and the warm. The warm is going to keep trying to push north. The cold is trying to drop south. That creates this battle zone over the next few days across Tennessee, back into Arkansas, northern Mississippi, northern Alabama. And some of these rainfall totals, not in one day, but over the entire week, could be totaling by the end of the week around 6.5 inches for parts of Tennessee. So we're going to have to watch for the potential for some flooding by the end of next week. Tennessee, northern Mississippi, northern Alabama. Shouldn't be a substantial flash flood threat, but something worth watching anyway. Temperature-wise, let's take a look at what the computer models are doing. Again, pretty warm as we head into Saturday. Much of the southeast is pretty warm. You can see 50s and then 60s and 70s. This is Saturday, midday 70s from Nashville down into Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia. 80s across much of Florida, the peninsula of Florida. 80s, mid-80s even, parts of Texas, but Oklahoma's starting to cool off. Kansas is only in the 40s, and then all that really cold air stays bottled up to the north. But as we work into Sunday, you can see how it really starts to push to the east, and instead of 70s like we were seeing in Middle Tennessee on Saturday, we transitioned to only 40s on Sunday. Also notice places like Dallas dropping back down into the 40s and 50s rather than the 70s and 80s as we round out next weekend or this coming weekend, Sunday the 9th. And it's going to be a big change. Snowfall, this is for the entire week. This is total amounts of snow by the time we get into a week from the 6th into Friday. So that would be the 13th and the 14th of February. Where you had a lot of warm air to end the week on the week of the 6th, now we're seeing snowfall. So a band of snow was possible in multiple waves from the middle Atlantic all the way through the Ohio Valley, back into Missouri and into the Central Plains. And again, that is pretty much lining up where that battle zone of the coldest of the air and the warmest of the air from the south will be settling up. Heavy rains on the south side of that, and then the potential for a band of snow to the north. So the weather is getting very active. That's the way it's likely going to be lining up for the rest of February into March, where we're going to have this battle zone between the cold air and the warm air. Sometimes, like this weekend, the warm air wins out, pushes up into the Ohio Valley. Sometimes, like next week, it drifts a little farther south down into the Gulf coastal states. But in that transition zone, you get storms, you get rain, and you can also get locally heavy snow. So we'll watch it all. If you're interested in learning more about tornado safety, check out my YouTube shorts on this channel. And if you want kind of a full story on how to formulate a tornado safety plan for your family, check out this video, and I'll see you next time.